The way we think about ourselves, our identities, affect the way we see the world, how we tread the world. And I recently thought of an interesting concept to illustrate this, and I thought I would share it with you. It is certainly not new, though perhaps the imagery of it will appear to some of you as it did to me. But before I move on to talking about horizontal versus vertical identities, I want to share two concepts that inspired this one. First of all, the growth versus fixed mindset. It's a concept first introduced by Carol Dweck, and it essentially means that in a fixed mindset, you are resistant to change. You're not challenging yourself, you're static, you're often resigned to the preconception that you are incapable of changing. So you're stuck in one place, and you may not even believe that any kind of growth is possible. In the growth mindset, on the other hand, you are more willing to confront your obstacles, to challenge yourself, instead of shrugging your shoulders and saying, well, this is just who I am. Obviously, the conclusion of this is that the growth mindset is the key to success. So do keep that distinction in mind. Now, in terms of vertical versus horizontal relationships, this is something I picked up from a great book, The Courage to be Disliked, which was actually recommended to me by someone who watched a video of mine. The premise of this is rather simple. Vertical relationships are hierarchical ones. So it doesn't matter if it's a work relationship with a boss or a personal one with a friend or a family member. In horizontal relationships, on the other hand, everyone is on equal standing. Even in the workplace, someone might obviously be beyond you in terms of their position. But on a human level, it's better to form horizontal relationships that are based on cooperation instead of competition. Building horizontal relationships can definitely help in intimacy, and in not comparing yourself to others, and in many other things. So my idea of vertical versus horizontal identities is one where these two concepts overlap to an extent. You can see a vertical identity as one that is a wall. At first glance, there are some benefits of this because it suggests that you can build yourself up higher and higher and achieve more and more, and also protect yourself and even put your identity on display so that everyone can see it. If you have this huge wall, you can put anything on it, and people will see it. But there are a lot of problems with this mindset. First of all, it's almost as if your identity is on such display that it hides you. From the outside, it may look flashy and fascinating, but it's also static, fixed, like that fixed mindset. And from the inside, your view is hidden because all you're able to see is the inside of that wall, one that is probably flat and boring because you're too busy making sure the outside looks interesting. You might become so focused on building that wall brick by brick, up and up. You may even lose yourself and not see the world around you. If you build a wall, you may have greater control of what's outside and how people see it, but you can't see anything beyond it. But in a horizontal identity, your identity is your ground. It's almost as if you had grown from the ground and now you're free to branch out. No one can really see this identity definitively because it is beneath the ground. But it doesn't even matter how others see it because the most important thing is how it affects you. It's more of a feeling or even assurance, trust that the ground is beneath your feet. If you have this strong grounding, you're not afraid that the wall you built will fall upon you. And if you have this grounding spread all over the world and always beneath your feet, it doesn't matter how much you achieve, what other people think when they look at you. It doesn't matter if what you construct is consistent or not. Since you have this strong core, whatever you become, whatever you do, it will be fine because you have that grounding. And that is the real growth mindset, because things grow organically from the soil, from the ground. They may not reach infinite heights, but they grow out naturally. And you don't have to build it by hand, brick by brick, always afraid that you'll fall at some point. This also ties into horizontal relationships, because if your identity is the ground, you do share it with other people. Everyone has their own bit of ground that they own, and that's important, but at the end of the day, you're not competing for space. Your space is with you wherever you go. You don't have to stand and wait by your wall at all times to make sure no one will tear it apart or steal it from you. Your identity is yours, there is theirs, and yet they always interact horizontally. Another point related to this is that I think people sometimes mistake moving forward with moving upward. They might think moving forward always entails gathering more, becoming more, always succeeding, always achieving more, moving up the ladder in any given area, always winning over others. But that is moving upward vertically. And I think moving forward is something else. Moving forward does not entail expecting a specific direction. It also does not entail running away from who you once were, because you're still on the same level. It just entails walking, moving, even if only in circles. Because, well, if you tread the entire earth, always moving forward, you'll always end up where you came from. And I think that's fine. Walking in circles does not mean never growing or learning. It only means that wherever you go, you always come back to yourself. And that, I think, can be quite a liberating thought. And all of this means that instead of building yourself vertically, with emphasis on gathering more, on protection, on performance, you build yourself horizontally from the ground up, but without the pressure to always move higher and higher. You see the world around you with more clarity. You feel yourself with more clarity, and you let yourself grow organically. Hopefully that makes sense to any of you. I personally loved that analogy when I thought of it because it gives me a slightly different perspective on how I see myself within the world, how I interact with it. Let me know how you might interpret this analogy, and if you enjoyed the video, consider liking it, sharing, and possibly subscribing to my channel. And thank you for your time.